Okay, dia lain sikit daripada you and you all guna tapi content lebih kurang sama. Okay, so I just proceed with the validity. Okay, so this is okay, sebelum saya terlupa ada dua term ni. Sebab this one slide untuk postgrad actually, tapi ada benda yang saya rasa saya kena highlight kat sini. Dia lebih kurang sama dengan you all punya slide saja, lebih kurang je. Sebab saya tak nak sentuh banyak pun daripada slide ni. Sebab ni lagi detail. The two terms. Okay. The two terms for those who do the quantitative research. When you do the quantitative research, there are two things that you will be very familiar. Okay, the terms adapting and adopting. Okay, adapt and adopt. Okay. So, adopting ni, the term adopt. Kalau kita dalam bahasa Melayu panggil dia nama anak angkat. Kan, adopt. Okay, adopt ni in research, it referring to no changes should be done in wording, answer categories, order or format of question or administrative procedures. Maksudnya when you adopt the questionnaire, the perkataan adopt and adapt ni we will use when we try to identify the suitable instrument for our study. Okay, perkataan ni yang biasanya ramai orang akan confuse. Okay, adopt ke adapt? Okay, adopt ni meaning that when you have the instrument on your hand, okay, there shouldn't be any changes on the wording, answer categories. Wording ni meaning that you cannot change anything from the instrument. Okay, you should use 100% as the original version. You cannot change even one single word. Okay, answer categories ni, if let's say the original Likert light scale that they use is 3, for example, you cannot change into 5. You have to use whatever provided to you. Okay, and then another thing is in terms of the order. Order ni meaning that the arrangement of the items. You cannot simply change those from 4 to 1. Okay, and then 1 to 15. You cannot change. You cannot change. And then the format of question. The format ni probably may include the instruction. Okay, you cannot change the instruction or the administrative procedure. Administrative procedure ni probably referring to when you how you do the data collection. If let's say the previous study, if let's say the one who developed the questionnaire ni, the items ni, they said that if you want to use the instrument, you need to interview your respondent personally. So meaning that you have to follow the instruction. You cannot give the instrument, distribute the instrument, leave it, give some time for a respondent to answer. Okay, and then after a while, then you come and collect again. You cannot do that. You have to follow exactly the similar procedure provided to you by the person who developed the instrument. Okay, ini maksud dia adopt. Okay, so we adopt the instrument ni, we adopt the instrument or measurement ni when we want to replicate the study. Apa maksud replicate? Replicate tak sama dengan duplicate. Okay, replicate ni meaning that, okay, based on, for example, there is one study related closely to your study. For example, a manager, leadership among women manager, for example, okay, has been conducted in Singapore. Okay, and then the finding from the study ni really interests you. It really attract your interest. So that's why you want to conduct the similar study but in Malaysia. You want to conduct a similar study related to leadership among women in Malaysia. Okay, then you replicate exactly the procedure, okay, the item that they use, okay, the data collection procedure, okay, and then in terms of the age range of the women leaders tu, you all follow exactly the criteria apa yang di report. Replicate ni shouldn't be similar with duplicate sebab, okay, when we replicate ni, we refer to the different sources. Dia bukan copy paste Kita hanya copy dia punya procedure but we do not copy the references or the theory. Okay? Dia lain, tak sama. Okay, and incapable to improve another's instrument. Okay, so meaning that we adopt when we cannot improve another instrument. Incapable to improve. Okay, and then instrument is under copyright. Okay, we adopt the instrument ni because the instrument itself is under copyright, in which you cannot simply change. You want to, if let's say you want to use the instrument, you need to get the permission from the author, from the original person, from the person who developed the instrument. Only then you can use the instrument. Okay, but there are some cases in which after you get the permission from the author, but the author said, please do not change anything from my instrument. You are allowed to use, but you cannot change anything. And then another condition that allow you to adopt the instrument is when you want to compare the finding. For example, you have two different instrument. Okay, you do not change anything, but the main purpose is you want to compare the result for these two instruments. For example, you want to measure leadership among women, but you have two different instruments developed by different scholars. Okay, you use the instrument ni among different similar respondent, but the result you want to compare which one is better. Okay, the next one is to use instrument of known reliability and validity. So meaning that you already know that the instrument that you use ni dah memang valid, dah memang reliable. So no need for you to do any changes. Okay, so these are the 5 situations that you are allowed to adopt the instrument. Okay, so the next term is adapt. Adapting an instrument. Okay, so adapt ni meaning that any aspect of an instrument is changed. So maksudnya kalau instrumen tu you dapat, you ubah sikit je. Even satu perkataan, we already have to use the word adapt. Okay, and then we adapt when instrument is too long. For example, you have the original version of the instrument, it has around 40, for example, 40 items to measure one variable. So it is too long, especially at your level. Okay, so that's why most of the time, for me, my student, I will advise them to reduce the number, but you cannot simply reduce. Okay, you have to reduce based on certain criteria. For example, based on factor loading. Okay, based on factor loading is somehow referring to the quality of each items. Okay, and then different population from the original population is being studied. Okay, so meaning that if the original version has been tested among teachers, but currently in your study you want to test leadership among women managers, for example. So you already adapt the population already different. So that's why we have to use the term adapt instead of adopt. Okay, so next one is instrument need to be translated to other language. This one, for example, okay, if let's say the original version of the instrument, it was in Dutch. For example, I have the experience when I conducted my PhD study earlier. Okay, the original version of this instrument only available in Dutch because the person who developed is Germany. Okay, so that's why I have to I ask the permission from the from the author to use the instrument. Okay, and then I provide the benefit to the author, in which I said that if I manage to get the instrument from him, I will provide the English and Malay translated version to him. So now, okay, instead of the instrument solely in Dutch, okay, he also has the instrument version in Malay and English. I provide both to him. So as an author, kita akan rasa happy kalau instrumen yang kita develop ni diguna pakai secara worldwide. Itu sepatutnya the spirit that should have from each scholar. Okay, and then instrument need to be expanded and reordered, and then because this one sometimes you have the one instrument which is very limited. For example, to measure one variable, you only have 3 items. 3 items is very risky for researcher. In quantitative research, it's very risky because sometimes when you have one problematic items out of 3, daripada 3 ni, for example, you ada 1 items yang bermasalah. Okay, masalah ni meaning that it is not reliable, meaning that you have to delete that items. Okay, for example, in your pilot test nanti, you have to delete. So you only there are only 2 items left. So this one is very risky for you because because in quantitative, one variable cannot be measured by only 2 items. Cannot. It is not valid. Okay, mostly the number of items in quantitative research range from 5 to 10. Okay, lesser than 5 ni very risky. Then most of the time, one variable cannot be measured by only 2 variable. By 2 items. Quanti nampak senang, but it is not easy as people say, because we have the procedure in which qualitative people tak boleh follow. So jangan pandang rendah pada kuanti. Nampak senang, but it is not easy as you think. Okay? And then change in the data collection procedure. Okay, dia ada perubahan, change in the data collection procedure. So if let's say the data collection procedure is not similar from the one proposed by the original author, so we also have to use the term adapt instead of adopt. Okay, faham adapt and adopt. So for those who do the quantitative research and then those who do the qualitative research as well, you need to familiarize with this term. Even though you are not using any instrument, but at least in the future we might not know. If let's say you want to conduct your quantitative study, so at least you know the differences between adapt and adopt. Okay, so this one dan saya nak highlight on validity ni. Last week we stop dekat validity. Okay, so there are 4 types of validity. Okay, so again, the validity ni is related to a study considered valid if its measure actually measure what they claim to. So meaning that the validity ni referring to the instrument measuring what you want to measure. Okay, so the instrument that you have measuring what you intend to measure, meaning that the instrument that you have ni is aligned with your operational definition. Okay. So it is also referring to the degree to which a measure is free of random and systematic error. Okay, and then ni dah higher level So untuk you all ni tak apa, faham yang ni pun dah cukup dah untuk you all. Okay, faham yang dalam lecture note saya tu pun dah cukup. Okay, so there are 4 types of validity. Okay, phase validity, content validity, criterion validity and construct validity. Okay, so there are 4 types: phase, content, criterion and construct. Okay, so test validity ni, we test validity basically when we want to develop new instrument. Okay, and then we test for validity as well when we want to use the established instrument to new population. So basically when you do any study, okay, you have to test for validity. Okay, sebenarnya lah itu je sebenarnya nak cakap. Walaupun di situ dinyatakan hanya 2 situasi, which is when you want to develop the instrument first, then the second one is when you use the established instrument, the existing instrument, you want to test from a new respondent. Okay, so meaning that you actually to simplify, actually you need to run the reliability validity whenever you want to conduct a study. So validity ni lah macam ni. Okay, inilah dia validity based on this apa yang kita panggil tak ingatlah board ni. Okay, kalau kita tengok point dia yang first ni A ni, okay, when we refer to the first ni, okay, all the bullet located at one place. Located at one place ni meaning that yes, it is measuring similar thing, right? But it is not, dia bukan tepat. It is not tepat apa? It is not accurate. The accurate version should be located at the middle. Okay, sepatutnya locate kat sini. But sini, in terms of reliability, kalau consistency kan, maksudnya consistency all the items measuring similar thing. But it is not accurate because it is not located at the middle of the board ni. Okay, untuk yang second pula, okay, the bullet ni spread all over the board ni. Okay, so in which for the second situation ni, it indicate the poor reliability, yes, meaning that the items in is inconsistent. It's not consistent. They measure different thing. Okay, and then poor validity. Poor validity ni for sure lah. Okay, because it is not located at the middle. Those spread all over the board ni. Okay, and then the third one, this one ni, good validity and reliability, meaning that they measure the right things, okay, the right things, and then all the items in measuring similar thing. Ini yang kita nak. Okay, so yang round yang tengah ni, the middle oval ni, okay, the middle oval ni sebenarnya referring to your operational definition yang kat tengah ni. Okay, so the items that we select, we want to make sure that it is reflect our operational definition. Ini yang kita nak ni. Okay, so kita pergi one by one. Sebenarnya last week kita dah pergi separuh, tapi ni saya rasa saya bagi contohnya lagi jelas. Okay, so again, the first one is the phase validity. Okay, it is referring to the degree to which an instrument appears to be an appropriate measure for obtaining the desired information, particularly from the perspective of a potential respondent. So in terms of the definition, it's just quite similar from the general definition of validity. Okay, but to measure the phase validity, there are two methods. Okay, first one is the cursory review of items by untrained judges. Okay, so according to Fink and Litwini, dia kata even though you are an untrained judge or untrained researcher, okay, you are also able to determine the phase validity ni. Okay, the second one is determined by expert review, the questionnaire. Okay, so ada dua cara, sama ada researcher sendiri, novice researcher yang buat evaluation ataupun the expert. Okay, so the phase validity ni ask the question related to, does the measure look like it is measuring what it is supposed to measure? Ni sama lah Okay, so on each phase, this item appears to relate directly to job performance and therefore would produce a valid response for the instrument ni. Example, okay, instrument to measure performance, one of the item asks respondent to indicate their opinion at workplace. So inilah dia punya example of the item. Okay, faham untuk phase validity ni? So meaning that for your report in chapter 3, okay, for phase validity ni, you may indicate that at the phase validity, okay, on its phase ni, you as a researcher, you assume that the item that you select ni related to your operational definition. Itu sahaja. Okay? Okay, the second one is content validity. Content validity. Okay, so again, I thought I already let you know last week. Amongst these four types of validity, the phase validity is the weakest level that measuring validity. Okay, dia ni pengukuran validity yang paling lemah, phase validity ni. Okay. So the next one is content validity. Content validity ni referring to subjective judgment of content following proper procedures to delineate content domain using a representative set of items, assessing if items make sense by expert. Ini biasanya akan dilakukan oleh expert dalam bidang. Basically, those either in academic or in practice. Ini biasanya yang saya akan buat when we during our lab session later. Okay? So maksudnya saya based on your Excel sheet tu, based on your operational definition, I will make sure that every items indicated under your operational definition ni is aligned with the item. Okay? And then relates to whether a measure is representative of a domain and whether appropriate procedures have been employed for the development of items. Yang ni dia bukan setakat tengok the item itself, but it will also look at the representative of domain and whether appropriate procedure have been employed. Dia bukan setakat tengok domain of the items tu, okay, tapi dia akan tengok juga either you already follow the appropriate procedure when you employ the instrument. Okay, probably it will include it will include either you already get the permission from the author. Ini adalah prosedur dia, antara prosedur. Okay, and then the assessment of content validity focus on whether aspects of the domain of a construct have been excluded, okay, and aspect of the domain of a distinctly different construct have been included. Okay, content validity ni, okay, it looking at the individual item itself. Sorry, the individual instrument itself. Okay, for example, you have three different variable. You have two independent variable and then you have one DB. Okay, for content validity ni, it will look at on the individual, inside the individual construct ni. Okay, dalam. Okay, so the subjective judgment cannot be quantified with statistic. Okay, so the content validity ni related to subjective assessment of the instrument. Okay, so therefore it is not possible to quantify this this content validity. Okay, and then it presented as an overall opinion of trained judges or expert. Ini dia punya content validity. Ini dia punya proses content validity. Tak apa, yang ni tak apa. Yang penting you all tahu je apa maksud content. Okay. So ini antara contoh dia. Ni bergerak kot. Okay, ni antara contoh untuk prepare content validity. Okay, prepare content validation form. Okay, ini adalah form yang you all prepare. Okay, but then you provide the instruction. Okay, domain 1, which is the variable 1. Okay, student perception on anatomy teaching methodologies, for example. So this is the operational definition. You provide the operational definition. Okay, and then this is the item that you collect, and then you provide with this scale. Okay, either this item relevance to measure the indicated operational definition or not. Okay, this is the example. So at least you ada ada idea lah sikit apa maksud dia content validity. Okay, and then the second one is you you select a review panel of expert. Yang ni you all yang pilih. Siapa yang you all nak? Is it the academician or the practitioner? Okay, the third one is conduct the content validation using face-to-face. So content validity ni biasanya kita akan buat face-to-face, preferably. Okay, sebab apa? Sebab senang for us to get the feedback from the expert. Okay, and then expert critically review the domain and items. Okay. Okay, so and then expert critically review by giving the suggestion based on by giving the suggestion. Okay, sama ada suggestion verbal ataupun written. Okay, and then expert provide score on each item and then calculate content validity index. Okay, so you ni tak not at your level lah tak apa, just tahu sahaja. Okay, ni tak payah. Ini bukan at your level. Okay, so the next one is criterion validity. Okay. So the criterion validity ni measure how well one instrument stack up against another instrument or predictor. Ingat content validity, it is related to only the individual instrument. Instrument. Items dalam satu individual instrument. Okay, but criterion validity ni dia started to compare the individual item to another, it start to compare the construct from one variable to construct from another variable. Okay, so that's why it's stated here, it measure how well one instrument stack up against another instrument or predictor. Dia dalam bahasa Melayu yang macam mana item yang terdapat dalam variable pertama ni dia stack up bersama, okay, dan dia ni tak sama dengan items lain dalam variable lain. Okay, we want to ensure that the two variable ni dia tak measure ni benda-benda yang sama. Okay. It implies that the outcome of one assessment can be used as a substitute test for the established gold standard criteria. Okay, there are two types of criterion validity, which is concurrent validity and predictive validity. This one saya dah cover sikit last week. Okay, so concurrent validity ni refers to two measures, okay, which is criterion measure and target test. Okay, dia ada dua test, two measures, are given at relatively the same point in time, and the results of the two tests concur with one another. Okay, the survey instrument in question be judged against some other method that is acknowledged as a gold standard for assessing the same variable. Okay, measured by correlation coefficient, which is high correlation indicate good concurrent validity for similar attributes, and negative correlation indicates good concurrent validity for a test measuring attribute that is opposite to the standard test. So, to simplify the concurrent validity ni, we have two different measure. Okay, one is standard, the gold standard. Okay, gold standard instrument. Okay, and then the second one is the one that you want to use. Gold standard ni meaning that a well-known established instrument measuring, for example, you want to measure performance, job performance. Okay, so you have one gold standard instrument. Okay, and then now you have the second one instrument that you want to use. Okay, to measure the concurrent validity, you run the data collection from similar respondent using these two instruments. The result that you get, you try to correlate. Faham? Okay, the high correlation indicate that the instrument is good concurrent validity. Kalau positif ni maksudnya the attribute that you want to test tu positif lah. Kalau the negative but high, meaning that in terms of the validity, it present a good validity, but just the negative tu sebab apa? Sebab the attribute yang you want to test ni negative actually. Negative behavior. Faham concurrent? Faham? Okay. Tak payah. Okay, the second type is the second type of criterion validity is predictive validity. Okay, so it is represent the ability of a survey instrument to forecast future event. Okay, behavior, attitudes or outcome. Okay, for example, we use to predict response to stimulus, election winners, success of an intervention. Okay, so established by comparing a measure with the future occurrence of another highly valid measure. Okay, we measure by correlation coefficient between the initial test and the secondary volume. Okay, dia sama dengan concurrent tadi, cuma concurrent ni we conduct the data collection at similar point. Okay, meanwhile for predictive ni, okay, dia ada dua point yang berbeza. We have, this is a well-established instrument. Okay, a well-established instrument, for example, okay, this is the one that we use. That we use. Ini adalah contoh yang saya bagi exam SPM dengan exam kemasukan guru. Okay, pre-examination before you enter into the university. For example, you attend one exam. Okay, for example, you want to predict that if let's say the candidate score well in the pre-examination test, they will determine your achievement during your degree, for example. So example, for those who score 80 and above in pre-examination exam, during during their bachelor degree, they will perform, for example, they will get the dean list every semester. Ini maksudnya. Okay, untuk predictive validity ni. Okay, you use one instrument to measure the future occurrence. Okay, it involve two different instrument later. Okay, that's one for predictive. Okay, next one is construct validity. Okay, so construct validity ni determine the extent to which a measure represents concept, should represent, and does not represent concept, it should not represent. Okay, And then it involve making comparison between a new measure and existing valid measures of the same concept. Okay, yang ni dia macam lebih kurang sama dengan concurrent validity. Okay. Okay, it contrasting the new measure with existing valid measures of different concept. Okay, kalau dalam concurrent, okay, the similar instrument ni they correlate, but this one in construct validity they will compare between two quite similar instrument ni. Okay, the most valuable yet most difficult to access. So construct validity ni instrument the type of validity yang paling sukar untuk diukur. Okay. Okay, so next one is kejap Okay. The construct validity ni consists of two types. Okay, convergent validity and divergent validity. Converge, diverge. Converge, diverge. Okay. Convergent validity ni referring to the level of agreement between two tests that are being used to measure the same construct. Okay, so for example, you have convergent validity. You have two similar instrument from two different sources. Okay, two similar instrument measuring similar thing. Okay, but for sure lah developed by different people. Okay, so there are a certain there are certain part of the instrument ni actually there are agreement. Agreement ni maksudnya sama, similar. Okay, and then convergent validity ni does ask the question related to does the measure correlate or converge with another measure of the same construct. Okay, kalau dia kata sama, so part mana yang sama? Berapa banyak yang sama? Converge. Okay. And then established by showing a strong relationship between, kenapa ada dua between ni? Okay, between the scale under the review and another validated scale thought to measure the same construct. Okay, dia ni lebih kurang sama dengan concurrent tadi. Beza dia sekarang ni dia mengukur how much yang sama. Yang tadi dia just correlate. Okay, dia just correlate, but this one dia correlate tapi dia tengok how much yang sama. Okay. And then it is also measured by correlation coefficient in which the correlation coefficient larger or equals to 0.4 indicates acceptable convergent validity. Maksudnya yang satu ni kita pakai a very established instrument or a validated instrument. Okay, this one yang kita nak pakai the survey instrument ni. Okay, after we correlate ni, the correlated ni, okay, we indicate it will, if let's say the correlation coefficient that we got is 0.5. Okay, 0.5. So it's already indicate the acceptable convergent validity. Okay, faham? Ada ke tak ni orang ni?
Faham, Doktor.
Faham, Doktor.
Okay, so next one is divergent. Okay, so divergent ni also known as discriminant validity. Diverge, kalau converge ni berapa banyak persamaan. Divergent ni berapa banyak perbezaan. Okay, converge, diverge. Okay, so lack of correlation between the scale under review and scale thought to assess different construct. So divergent ni kita nak mengukur, kita mengharapkan yang dua instrumen ni diverge from one another. Okay, yang convergent ni biasanya kita akan cari dua instrumen yang mengukur benda yang sama untuk kita correlatekan to ensure the convergent validity. Tetapi untuk divergent validity ni kita akan gunakan dua instrumen yang mengukur benda yang berbeza. For example, you try to correlate between two independent variable that you have in your study. Job performance, job turnover for example. You have two instrument, one on job performance, satu lagi on turnover. You try to correlate. Okay. Kalau the value, if let's say the correlation coefficient value that you have is lesser or equals to 0.3, okay, 0.3 and below, it indicate evidence of divergent validity. Kalau nilai correlation dia tu 0.3 dan ke bawah, maksudnya yes, kedua-dua items ni berbeza, IV dengan DV. Tetapi if let's say the value, the correlation coefficient value ni, okay, 0.31 and above, so maksudnya ada something wrong dengan your instrument. It measuring similar thing. Okay, faham Untuk converge dengan diverge ni dia senang je, bezakan je. Okay, so ini, so we are done with the validity. Okay, so phase validity ini dia punya conclusion untuk validity lah. Phase validity, content validity, criterion validity, ada dua jenis. There are two type of criterion validity, concurrent validity and predictive validity. For construct validity, there are two types as well, convergent and divergent or discriminant validity. Okay, so next one is reliability. Saya dah masuk ke belum Saya dah masuk ke belum? Belum.
Belum betul.
Alang-alang tu guna slide ni lah. Mana reliability tadi? Okay. Okay, so reliability of consistency, dia ada beberapa jenis. Okay, there are few types of reliability that we can measure. Observer or rater. Okay, observer or rater ni the researcher lah, those who do the data collection. Okay, and then test over time. Okay, jenis yang kedua, the second type. Then the third one is different version of the same test. Okay, and then a test at one point in time. Okay, so reliability in general, it indicate the measure that relatively free of random error. Okay, it is related to the consistency actually, consistency of the instrument. Okay, and then reliability relates only to consistency. Okay, ni je dia punya criteria, dia punya attributes. Okay, a reliable person who is consistent but always 15 minutes late. Dia consistent. Every day they will be, he or she will late 15 minutes. Dia reliable. Okay, dalam konteks ni dia reliable but he's not valid. Macam tu. Reliable, 15 minutes late ni reliable but not valid. Okay, a measurement can be reliable but not necessarily accurate. Okay, so there are three types kat sini, test, retest reliability, alternate form reliability and internal consistency reliability. Okay, test, retest, alternate form and internal consistency reliability. Okay, so for the first one, test, retest. Okay, same scale administered twice with an interval of a few weeks, for example 4 to 6 weeks or higher to the same set of respondent. Okay, so test, retest ni you use similar instrument. Okay, you test for similar respondent, but there are interval. Okay, there is an interval. So meaning that 4 weeks ke, 5 weeks ke, 6 weeks ke, okay, boleh jadi sebulan, 3 bulan and so on. Okay, the result then you correlate between the two data set. Okay, the result between the two data ni you correlate to see the test, retest reliability ni. Okay, it's measured by correlation coefficient. Okay, and then for correlation coefficient larger or equals to 0.7 considered to be acceptable. Okay, so ni value dia. Okay, so dia punya masalah problem related to test, retest reliability ni adalah if let's say we use the short intervals of instrument administration tend to yield to high reliability estimate. Why? Kenapa? Short interval ni. Kenapa rasa-rasa? If let's say the interval that you use, for example, lesser than 4 weeks, you just use 2 weeks. Okay, dia akan ada issue that the respondent ni already can recall the question, the items ni. So she or he, okay, just recall the answer based on the earlier answer that she choose. Okay, So invalidity happen due to learning or practice effect. Learning lah, learning or practice effect ni. Okay, learning or practice ni, satu dia boleh jadi positif. Positif ni meaning that he or she, if let's say on the first attempt ni, on the first attempt, okay, she or he answer thoroughly. Kalau dia memang betul-betul menjawab, so then untuk yang the second attempt ni, dia mungkin akan jawab betul tapi dia akan ingat lagi jawapan yang pertama. Okay, so itu akan memberikan high reliability estimate. Okay, itu the positive side lah. But dia akan menyebabkan invalidity sekiranya untuk the first attempt, okay, she or he answered unconsciously. Dia menjawab soalan sesuka hati untuk first attempt. When it comes to a second attempt, untuk ujian kedua, okay, because he or she still can recall how she answer from the first attempt, so dia akan jawab sama, salah juga. Okay, and then invalidity due to maturation if interval of instrument administration is too long. Ni pun ada masalah kalau terlalu panjang pula. Okay, and then respondent refuse to take a second administration may cause some subject to drop out of the pool. Ini adalah lagi satu masalah. Okay, because test retest ni involve the data collection from similar respondent twice, at least twice. Okay, so perhaps in the second attempt, the respondent ni refuse to involve, refuse to participate. So the earlier attempt yang dia jawab dalam dalam soalan kedua pertama tu, kita terpaksa drop. Okay, so ni actually the example lah ni the example. Ni daripada Pearson Product Moment Correlation Result. Okay, they correlate between two test, visualization test dengan visualization 2 ni, they correlate. Okay, visualization test dengan visualization 2. So the R is 0.938. Ni dia punya R value. Okay, so next one is alternate form reliability. Okay, so alternate form reliability ni involve using different worded items to measure the same attribute. Okay, for example, question and response are reworded. Okay, and then the second one is question and response order change. Dia ada dua jenis. Okay, alternate form ni, the instrument, you have one instrument. Okay, and then the question ni you reword, you paraphrase. Okay, lagi satu adalah instrumen ni, you change the order. From nombor 1, you tukar nombor 5. Nombor 5, you tukar nombor 3. Itu contoh. Okay, we measured also by using the correlation coefficient, okay, in which higher strength of relationship indicates higher reliability. Okay, so R larger than 0.7 considered to be acceptable. So the advantage for alternate form reliability ni, it avoid the practice effect. Practice effect as in this one, as in the test reliability. Okay, and then mana dah tadi? Okay, then second one is to two time points are closer together. Okay, so we use the alternate form reliability ni, for example, when when the interval ni close, when the two interval from the first attempt to the second attempt ni close to one another. Okay, for example, you all nakkan seminggu je untuk daripada first first attempt dengan second attempt. Okay, so dia punya, this is the example. Okay, you have similar instrument, version A, version B. Okay, for example, how often during the past 4 weeks have you felt sad at blue? Okay, the items ni sama, tapi you all ubah ni. You all ubah the arrangement. Okay, 1 never, 2 kalau the original ni 1 all of the time, 2 ni most of the time. Kenapa dia macam ni? Okay, and then third ni some of the time, 4 occasionally, and 5th never. So you all ubah the arrangement ni. Okay, sini you all terbalikkan. Okay, the second version, okay, the instrument, the item, dia punya instruction sama, okay, but you all exactly ubah the answer. Okay, you ubah benda ni. Kiri dan kanan ni tak sama. Ini contoh dia. Okay, so the next one is internal consistency reliability. So internal consistency procedures assess whether a set of item fits together or belongs together. So it applied to groups of item. Then we measure using an overall indicator of internal consistency reliability, Cronbach alpha and split half approach. Inilah yang biasa kita pakai. Okay, biasanya untuk level you all, untuk tahap you all, kebanyakan most of the student use the internal consistency reliability, which is measuring by using the Cronbach alpha. Okay, this is last few weeks workshop that I did together with the final year project paper student, which is your senior. Inilah yang kita gunakan, internal consistency reliability. Okay. So we measure the internal consistency reliability ni by using the Cronbach alpha, in which the Cronbach alpha ni measure the internal consistency. Okay, it is a scale designed to measure a single construct. Okay, for example, job satisfaction, and it determines the degree to which all the items are measuring the same construct. Okay, and then the alpha measure on the same scale as Pearson correlation coefficient. The value range from 0 to 1. Okay, the lowest is 0, the highest is 1. There shouldn't be the negative value of Cronbach alpha. Kalau ada negative tu, please check. Okay, and then assumptions, all items must be measured on an, ni tak payahlah, ni tak payah, yang kanan ni tak payah. Ini je yang you all kena ingat. Okay, dia punya scale. Cronbach alpha scale ranges from 0 to 1. Okay, so kalau the items the value of Cronbach alpha lesser from 0.7, lesser than 0.7, so it is questionable. As much as possible, we want the value of Cronbach alpha range from 0.7 and above. Kalau 0.7 and below ni, they're questionable. The items tu might not be reliable. Okay. Okay, I thought that one is the last one. Last one. Okay, ni split half reliability. This one untuk yang Cronbach alpha biasa. The split half ni you divide into two half. For example, you have a very large item. Okay, the item that you have ni, for example, you have around 50 items. Okay, and then from these 50 items ni you divide into two. You split half. Okay, you split half the item. Okay, and then you correlate between the first half and then the second half. Okay, sama juga. So dia punya bacaan. Okay. Itu saja untuk reliability. Any questions so far? Ada soalan? Ini saya dah cover lah. Okay, so factors influencing reliability ni, there are a few things that may influence the reliability. Okay, the first one is test takers' personal characteristic. For example, motivation, health, and good mood and fatigue. For example, ini untuk for those who do the reliability test. Okay, the test taker ni meaning that your respondent. For example, when you ask the respondent to answer your questionnaire at the time, okay, he or she might not feeling very well. So perhaps it may influence your reliability result. Okay, and then the variation in test setting, for example, differences in the physical characteristic of the room. For example, kalau ada bilik yang dalam temperature low temperature, sejuk. So for sure orang kalau boleh nak cepat-cepat keluar. Sama juga if let's say you have you test in high temperature room. Okay, so orang akan cepat-cepat jawab, okay, without having a thorough reading on the instrument. Okay, dia akan jawab sesuka hati sebab nak cepat keluar. Okay, and then variation in the administration and scoring of the test. Okay, administration ni, when you choose how to do your data collection, either it is face to face, online, apa lagi, email, mail, post, all these things you need to consider. Yang mana, which way you need to select the procedure, the administration procedure yang paling sesuai according to your respondent. Okay, and then sometimes you may use the technique drop and collect. Okay, you drop the questionnaire most of the time lah sebab you all ni nak jimat masa, then you drop the questionnaire and then you say that I will collect next week, for example. Okay, so but be careful sometimes when you use the technique drop and collect ni, you bagi seminggu for the respondent to answer your questionnaire, but sometimes when you come back after 1 week, the respondent ni actually lost your instrument, lost your questionnaire, sudah membazir. Okay, so bagi masa yang sesuai for you yourself as well as your respondent. Okay, and then the scoring of the test. Scoring of the test ni, for example, when you locate the scale tu. Okay, when you go through the literature, you may found that some of the researcher they use 3 Likert scale, some of them use 5, some of them use 7, some of them use 9. Okay, there are variability in terms of the selection of the scoring ni. Okay, so you may you have to consider your respondent when you choose the right Likert scale. Okay, for example, kalau your respondent is those who live in urban area, in rural area, so probably you may try to reduce the number of Likert scale. Okay, but if let's say your respondents include those with high level of education, you may consider to have a larger number of Likert scale, for example 7 and 9. Okay, and then variation in participant responses due to guessing. Okay, and then the instrument the instrument itself. Okay, the instrument itself also may influence the reliability, in which is based on luck. Okay, luck is more of a factor in a short test than in a long test. Luck. Okay, for example, because you do not know exactly what does it mean by the items, okay, therefore you just simply tick. Kebetulan it is your luck, then the answer is correct. Itu bukannya menggambarkan your own attributes, but it is just the luck. Okay, ni dah. Okay, so relationship between reliability and validity, kalau you all perasan based on the board tadi tu. Okay, so reliability and validity ni, the one instrument ni, it may be reliable but not necessarily valid. Okay, but one instrument that is valid, for sure it is reliable. Faham? Instrument that is reliable, not necessarily valid. Instrumen yang consistently mengukur sesuatu perkara tidak semestinya mengukur benda yang kita nak ukur. But an instrument that is measuring what we want to measure, for sure it is reliable. It is consistently measuring similarity. Faham? Okay, inilah maksud dia. A measuring instrument can be reliable without being valid, but it cannot be valid unless it is first reliable. Syarat dia mesti valid. Kalau instrumen tu valid, for sure dia akan reliable. Okay. Ini step in instrument construction and evaluation ni, tak payahlah. Okay, so this week for our lab session, okay, I will review all the instrument for each lab session. So I hope that we can complete all this week. Okay, because for next week, for next week we are not going to have the lab session because I will leave you to do your pilot study. Okay, we're gonna run out of time. Okay, so you need to run your pilot study next week. So this week, I will review your instrument. So hopefully everything in place. Okay, I just review in terms of the alignment between your items and your operational definition only. For those who do qualitative research, you may or may not attend the class this week. Up to you. Okay, but next week make sure you already, because sebenarnya saya cakap last week lagi you all kena start dengan pilot test ni untuk those who do quali. Okay, you all dah kena buat daripada last week lagi, at least dengan satu respondent. Okay, tapi untuk yang kuanti ni, next week tu we are not going to have class. Okay, but you need to proceed with your pilot test. Okay. So after the questionnaire measuring all variables have been constructed, it is necessary to pilot the form on a representative sample of about 10 to 30 respondents. This is for quantitative research. Okay, to do your pilot study after this, you need to include at least 10 to 30 respondents from a group of people that share similar characteristics from your actual respondent. Okay, pilot study sample dalam pilot study ni make sure dia bukanlah orang yang sama dengan your actual study. Okay, dia adalah orang yang berbeza but make sure they share similar characteristic. Okay, pilot study involve the administration of the survey to a small group of individuals that share similar characteristics. Okay, with actual research respondent. It provides the opportunity to assess the appropriateness of the data collection methods and other procedures and to make changes if necessary. Okay, it also permits a preliminary testing of the hypothesis. Ni tak payahlah. Ini je dia punya purpose dia ni. Okay, dan dia punya purpose, other purpose to help the researcher determine the survey's validity and its reliability. Okay, clear instruction and clear understanding of the process are necessary to achieve the data of good quality. Okay, so for those in quanti, I strongly recommend you every time you do your pilot study, try to as much as possible, try to meet your respondent face to face. Because at this level, the main purpose is not because you want to have high correlation between variables, bukan. Okay, at this stage, you want to check your individual construct, the items for each construct. You want to check, is it the instruction provided to your for your respondent are clear or not? You want to check either the items of your instrument ni clear to your respondent ke tak? Ini dia punya main purpose. Okay, so my recommendation, when I did my master, for both my masters and PhD, I never include my sample size for pilot study ni 30. I never reached 30. Why? Because I spend my time to interview my respondent individually. Okay? I prefer to use face-to-face. I ask them individually. I meet them individually. I ask them personally from the items which one that I can improve to make sure that my respondent understand the items better. Because you have to remember, most of the time we adapt the instrument from those developed in developed country. For example, in US, in German, in Japan, right? So the terms that they use most of the time is not suitable in Malaysia. Ingat walaupun instrumen tu you all hanya nampak sebagai instrumen, tapi instrumen tu when it comes to Malaysia in our setting which is totally different in terms of the culture, religion, belief, setting and so on. Okay, kita kena adapt. Ada perkataan yang tidak sesuai diguna pakai di Malaysia. Okay, in which the term tu probably referring to different thing if let's say in Malaysia. So that's why bila dalam pilot study ni lah, we will try to omit that error. Mana term yang tak sesuai kita omit. Kita ubah guna term yang lagi sesuai. For example, the term cozy. Cozy ni referring to selesa in Malaysia. And in Malay, it is referring to selesa. Tapi the most common term that we use is comfortable. Term tu sebenarnya sama. Cozy ni reflecting to comfortable. Comfortable reflecting to cozy. But in Malaysia, we regularly use the word comfortable. So kita cuba guna pakai perkataan yang sesuai dengan responden kita, term dia. And then another example is probably the term used in healthcare might not be similar with the term used in engineering or manufacturing. So mungkin the original version of the instrument it has been developed in manufacturing setting. For example, if you want to measure job performance, which is the original item developed based on the manufacturing setting. Kalau if let's say you want to adapt this instrument to measure job performance among nurse, for example, you cannot simply use the instrument. You need to check one by one of the items, and then you need to change if let's say there is necessary to change. Okay? So I thought we are done for today. Any question? Awal lagi tapi dah siap dah untuk week minggu ni. Okay, any question so far? Today the attendance is 64, 63. Where's the rest? I thought 70. Kita tahu. Any question no?
Doktor.
Ya, dia Farhana.
Saya nak tanya
Yes.
pasal test retest tu kan?
Yes.
Macam sebelum ni saya tengok kalau kita jawab questionnaire ke daripada pelajar-pelajar lain kan, dia tak pernah pula tanya soalan tu 2 kali. Saya pelik. Bila benda ni, bila retest tu kena buat.
Okay, this supposedly, one researcher need not necessarily you apply all the methods when you do your data collection. Okay, that's why there are a few types of reliability. So you may choose either you want to use you want to check your reliability based on test retest or internal consistency based on split half. You may choose only one, depend on your research. Okay, most of the researcher they do not prefer to use test retest ni because it is time consuming. Itu dia punya one of the weaknesses because not many people, not all researchers are willing to do the test a few times. But most of the time, if let's say you involve in instrument development, you develop the instrument from scratch. Okay, you are not adapting or you are not adopting any instrument, but you develop. Ingat develop instrument dalam research ni tak sama macam mana you develop instrument when you do your research during your matric dulu. I still can recall because during my matriculation last 10 years, more than that. Last 12, 13 years ago, I also did research during my matriculation study. But that time I thought that develop instrument you just simply state saya suka makan nasi, saya suka makan mi, to measure makanan. It is not like that. Okay, to measure the instrument ni, to develop instrument when you follow the right step or procedure in research, it can be one study. To develop instrument sahaja. Okay, to develop instrument ni, mostly you develop one instrument, you only test that one, test the instrument ni few times, test retest. Okay? Dia tak sama macam most of the time kalau you all hanya adopt or adapt, most of the time the researcher do not use test retest. Okay, yang kita pakai ni kita baru nak develop instrument tu. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Ada question? Lagi soalan? Do you have any question regarding your instrument development? Ada?
Tak ada, doktor.
Bagus. Can't wait to see all of you tomorrow. Yes, yes.
Doktor ada contoh tak soalan untuk kuali? Macam tadi yang doktor bagi untuk kuanti tu.
Dia tak macam mana nak cakap yang you all kuali ni, sebab kuali ni saya tengok ada ke tak. Okay. Ada ke tak ini.
Doktor,
Yes, yes.
saya pun nak tanya pasal yang Excel tu kan. Kalau kuali research protocol dia sub question kepada research question kan.
Betul.
Then yang kita kena mention ke yang consent untuk interview, consent untuk
Kena.
audio recording. Yang tu pun kena mention jugalah.
Yes.
Okay.
Susah apa kuali. Amira kalau untuk level you all, Amira tak boleh share sebab you all dia tengah buat lagi. Siapa yang dah habis kan? Jun tak boleh. Kuanti. Kutijan kot sekejap masukkan lagi. Sekejap ni contoh dia. Okay, ni dia punya ni IQ satu dia. So what are the approaches and personality of a women leader that enable her to break the male-centric realm in Malaysian higher education government agency? So ni dia punya probing lah. Dia punya research protocol. Ni. Tell me about your career path. How do you define successful leadership? What made you want to be in a leadership position? And then what characteristic do you possess that make you an effective leader? What approach have you implemented that enable you to break the male-centric realm in holding the top position as Director General of Higher Education? Ni dia punya RQ kedua. Okay, ini dia punya contoh. So based on the bigger RQ, she came out with more specific question. Okay, but the result of this question may reflect the specific RQ. Ini dia punya contoh. Inilah dia punya contoh. Okay. Okay, ini ada question.
Okay, doktor, thank you.
Welcome. Okay, tak ada lah. Any other question?
Doctor?
Yes?
Doctor, sorry, I have question. So in the item we need to develop or we adopt from another article.
Baru pun ada soalan ni. Okay, at your level, as what I said, when you want to develop the instrument, okay, it is not easy. Meaning that when you want to develop the instrument, it will include a lot of process. You need to do your content analysis, you need to do the interview, you need to do the qualitative and quantitative research to develop one instrument. Okay, it is not at your level. Okay, because you only have, for this course, you only have 6 months. Less than that pun. Okay, but for your final year project paper letter, you only given 1 year. No, it's still not enough for you. This is not your level. Even if dekat master level pun, we are not encourage you to develop your instrument dekat master project paper. Kalau master science, probably yes. Okay, not everybody are able to do that. Okay, so untuk you all ni basically either adapt or adopt only. Either adapt or adopt. Just remember what I said earlier. Which one suitable? Okay, if you change something, for sure adapt. But if let's say you adapt, after you call, you contact the author, the owner of the the owner of the instrument ni, he or she said that you cannot change. You may use my instrument, but you cannot change anything. Then the word that you should use is adopt.
Okay, doctor. So if we adopt or adapt, so we need to dapat
The agreement
dapat owner
permission.
punya ya.
Yes. Yes. And then you need to compile that in your project as well, in your appendix.
Tapi kalau dalam research sekarang pun juga nak dapat.
Yes, Lain.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but bawa tutup sendiri pula. Okay, but most of the time when you referring to the article, okay, kalau article tu most of the time if let's say the instrument ni somehow is not a golden standard ataupun yang memang digunakan untuk commercialization by the author, biasanya you all akan dapat free. Okay, and then biasanya if like when you read the article of the instrument ni, dekat hujung ataupun dekat belakang instrumen tu dia dah letak. If let's say the author, the reader are allowed to use this instrument for education purpose only. Kalau dia state macam tu, automatically tak payahlah contact. Faham?
Faham.
Sebab bila kita buat research, we have certain ethical procedure that we need to follow. Untuk kuali lain, untuk kuanti lain. Untuk for those who do kuali, because the instrument, the research question that they develop ni bukan adapt atau adopt daripada mana-mana. So therefore that you may proceed with data collection directly. Tapi untuk those who do the quantitative, before they able to proceed with data collection, they need to make sure that first the instrument that they select ni measuring what the operational definition stated. And then the second one is they need to make sure that the instrument that they use are permitted to be used by the owner. Okay, they are allowed to use that instrument. Only then they can proceed. Okay, and then for those who do qualitative, okay, after you develop, after you develop and then you want to start your data collection with the respondent, you need to make sure that you get their signature. Okay, their signature or approval to be involved in the study. Okay, then explain to them that the interview session ni will be recorded, okay, and then will be used for the purpose of the study only. Okay, and then after a while, for example, after the study completed and then be compiled for submission, all the recording ni akan di-delete. Sebab you cannot save the recording tu untuk masa lama, untuk masa panjang ataupun selama-lamanya. We just afraid that dia jatuh ke tangan orang yang salah dan benda tu akan disebarkan. Okay. Itu kuali lain, kuanti lain dia punya nature. So faham Lain? Got it?
Faham. Thank you, Doktor.
So any other question?
Doktor nak tanya, kalau macam kita interview tu dalam bahasa Melayu, lepas tu kita translate dalam BI, tak ada masalah kan?
Should be no problem, but make sure you have someone good in English lah later to translate from Malay to English. And then later, okay, after you do the translation, probably you have to do the audit trail. Audit trail ni meaning that the new translated version ni, you need to submit to the respondent to make sure that he or she check again. Is it similar from what has been translated ni, similar to the original what they want to say? Itu kuali. Okay? Lagi?
Thank you, Doktor.
Doktor,
repeat again what you said about we need to get from the respondent again about the quali when we
audit trail, nama dia
translate
audit trail. Nama dia audit trail. Audit trail ni for qualitative, okay, after you do the interview session, okay, after you do the interview, okay, and then you transcribe. You interview, okay, and then you record, and then you go back home, and then you transcribe. After you transcribe, you write down it in one paper, one piece of paper. Before you translate, okay, you submit that piece of paper to the respondent again to be checked. Sama tak apa yang dia maksudkan masa interview tu dengan apa yang you all tulis? Itu audit trail. Ejaan dia AUDIT space trail, TRAIL, audit trail. Okay, and then lepas tu, okay, then Rahia said earlier that if let's say she want to translate from the Malay version to English. Okay, so proses dia make sure you have one expert lah. Dia macam dah start dalam proses macam kuanti punya. Okay, nak make sure that apa yang you all translate daripada bahasa Melayu ke English ni sama. Okay, you have one expert, then after you translate, the translated version in English ni you submit again dekat your respondent untuk dia check balik sama tak apa yang dia cakap tu dengan apa yang you all tulis dalam bahasa Inggeris. Okay, to make sure that it is reliable, consistent daripada apa yang dia cakap dengan apa yang you all translate, apa yang you all transcribekan dalam bentuk bertulis, dan daripada bahasa Melayu, bentuk bertulis dalam bahasa Melayu you translate into English. We want to make sure that it is consistent and valid from whatever the respondent said during the interview. Okay? Faham? Okay. So any other question? Okay. Ada masa lagi? Around 30 minutes.
Audit trail tu, saya ada question doktor, yang audit tu kena ada macam bukti ke yang diorang approve? Kalau macam respondent tu betulkan, kita betulkan macam tu je lah. Tak ada, tak ada apa proof diorang sign ke.
Okay. Basically, when we want the respondent, when we want the respondent to approve the transcript, okay, we send it through email. Okay, so meaning that the conversation between you and the respondent ni yang buat audit trail ni, you have to compile together in your appendix. But the process itself, meaning that you contact for audit trail and so on, you indicate in your chapter 3. Faham? Dalam bab 3 you may just describe, you explain how the process, how you do the audit trail. Maksudnya the process macam mana daripada transcribe tu, then you translate, you have one expert, and then you give it to the the respondent again to check. The process tu you all kena describe dalam bab 3. But in terms of the conversation sebagai bukti, you compile in your appendix. Boleh?
Print screen je lah kan doktor kalau
print screen ke, save dalam PDF ke, terpulang. Okay, even though kalau you all guna WhatsApp pun just print screen. Boleh, sekarang WhatsApp pun dah
betul.
Okay, so any other question? Tak ada dah?
Terima kasih.
Okay, ada lagi soalan? Tak ada dah? Okay, if there is no more questions, so I thought we should stop here. I give you some time to proceed with your instrumentation as well. Okay, untuk betulkan mana-mana yang patut sebelum esok. Okay. So let's stop here. Okay. So Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh, dan see you tomorrow for lab 1.
Thank you, doktor.
Thank you, doktor.
Thank you.
Kakak.